So I'm back, and hopefully this time you can hear me. Having some problems with my speakers, and well, there's some echo effect. Okay. Why is there echo effect? Should an echo effect? This. How about now? Is there still an echo? Yes. I don't know why I have so many problems with audio. Let's see. Let's see here. I did that. Now I'm really good. I want that. So what if I do that? How about now? Is there still echoing? Same. Wow. How bad is it? I suppose if I do that, now I can't hear anything, right? Try my sign language. Oh, it's good now? Okay. Well, thanks, Revell. We'll go with that. And, okay, so we're good. So, as I was trying to say earlier, we are continuing the build on Revell's, you can hear my AC, but no echo. Oh, that's perfect. Okay, good. CH-53 GS/G, skill level 5, which means nothing. Skill level means nothing to Revell, at least in my opinion. Here we are. We got this guy here. He is just about done, almost done. My decals came in that I had ordered online for this guy. It's a nice little decal sheet here with a whole bunch of Marines like that. So I could get this guy all nicely decaled up to match. Oh, what's his name? Blackout from the Transformers Michael Bay movie. So you can see the Marines on the side there. He's got his 4500 designation there. Also on the front, a nice big 4500 there on the nose. So purists out there might say, well, his designation was not 4500 but 4500X. Well, there's no X on here, and I didn't want to take two decals and try and just match them up to make an X on there, because it would look hokey, and so I didn't want to do that. But I did notice something. In looking at pictures of Blackout from Transformers, I noticed on his tail designation, right above the 4500X, it says USAF. But these are Marine helicopters, not USAF. And so I'm going to guess that Michael Bay took some artistic license, and there was no actual 4500X helicopter, and so they just probably CGI'd it in for that particular shot when they did a little close-up on the tail, because there is no 4500X, there's no USAF. From what I can tell, the helicopters that are USAF, they have a big yellow banner that goes right around the tail and has the designation inside of it. And of course, that's USAF, not Marines. And in the movie, he ain't got no yellow band around there, so he's a Marine helicopter, and they chose to put USAF on the tail, in spite of the fact that it's not USAF. It is, in fact, a Marine chopper. That being said, we are almost done. Decals are done. I started assembling the main rotor blade. That's going to go on there like this when it's all done. I've got another piece that's going to go on here on top to lock them all together. Like that. Not quite like that, but close. So I got my other 4 rotor blades I need to glue. I have my tail rotor. He's ready to glue on. As you can see, I've added the decals on there that he's supposed to have. But I'll do that in a minute. So while I'm putting this together, I'm just going to put this aside for now so that I can glue these together unhindered. And I also have this piece that goes on the nose that sticks out. And that's that. So, right now, I'm going to start gluing these together. This is going to be one big honking rotor blade once it's all assembled. I'll tell you that much. It's a big bitch. Just looking downstairs at where I might be able to put this thing when it's all together. And to be honest, I don't have room anywhere for this thing. It is literally too big for our shelves. So I'm just going to hold that for a minute while that sets. Once this guy is done, or once I got this assembled, it'll be time to start adding some weathering on the panels to make this thing look like it's actually used and not just fresh out of the hanger off the assembly line kind of thing. I'll do that once I have these blades put together. I was contemplating just putting 1 or 2 on at a time and letting them set, and then put another 1 or 2 on and let them set. But because of the piece that goes on the top, it kind of locks them all together. So I don't really have to let them set very much. So once the top piece goes on, it locks them all in, and then they won't really move anywhere. Of course, being able to put this thing down is a bit of a challenge. Things in the way, it's just so big and cumbersome. I'm supposed to do that. Stay together, please. Hey, stay together. Now, as you can see, this can be a bit of a daunting task to keep them all on. sure they're all lined up. Looks like it. See this thing, get it here. It's got little notches in it for all these little pegs to go in. And so, put glue in them, all these little holes. Put it on top, and hopefully have it all line up. Of course, that's a big hope. How many of them are going to fall off while I'm trying to get this lined up? You are not being nice. You got to stay there. Not quite lined up with you. You. Now you get an idea of what I mean by making sure everything lines up and how it locks them in, at least in theory. Even if they don't all line up. This one is like really angled up. If I try and I can't really show you too well, but yeah, they're not wanting to stay lined up very good, but that's okay. So I'm going to put this off to the side to let that dry. We'll work on getting the panel lines done. So let me just put this down over here somewhere else. Okay. So now I'm going to start working on getting this guy looking nice and rough and dirty. I'll show you some of the pictures I've seen online of these things look really rough. Like, you know, if you take corrugated cardboard, it's basically two pieces like this, and you've got the structure in between the two pieces. You take that cardboard and you soak it in a puddle of water for 10 minutes, and then it becomes super flimsy. You let it dry, and when it dries, you get, you know, all the structure that's in between the two pieces. You get that little, like, I don't know what you call it. It almost looks like webbing or something like that, and it stays like that forever. There's a couple of pictures I have of that thing up close. It's like What the heck is that thing made out of? Is it freaking cardboard or what? Because it just looks like there's so many dents. Beat up that thing can be, and it still works fine. So I'm not too worried about getting lots of dark paint on here and making it look like crap, especially in a few of these areas where there's vents. I'm going to make sure those get filled in. I'll just do one right now while I'm talking about it. I have it actually pointing at the camera. I'll just fill that right in like that, and that's good enough for me, because that would be black anyway. There was decals on the decal sheet to put in these spots, and I thought, nah, the decals, they just get glossy and everything, and so I don't like that look too much. So I'll just do it like that, and that's good enough for me. So yeah, I've got lots of lines. There are so many panel lines on this thing. As you can see just in that picture I showed you, there's tons, and there's rivets everywhere. But again, that's not really an issue. It's just the way this helicopter is made, right? So not a big deal, really. I do have a little bit of painting to do on it, but not much. For example, on the exhaust here, that needs to be painted, like an iron color. I need to paint this thing here iron color. That's it. There's not a lot of painting to be done on this particular model. Especially not as the Marine Corps version. Everything's gray, and that's the way it is. And gray is colors. It's just the way it is, right? Like I said, I'm not too concerned about all of making it look pretty or anything like that. I don't want to put gloves on though. It's no need for that. But see, I don't think I'm going to get a lot of running. I'll have to do this kind of thing along the lines. And that's going to take a lot of time because there is so many on this thing. Do is I'll come back with the alcohol swab, and I'll just kind of rub a lot of that off clean it up so it doesn't look quite so messy. But at the same time, you will see the like a shadow almost. Around all the rivets. And that's kind of the look I'm going for. And that's going to be basically the process. I got a little bit of running there. That's okay though. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. That's not what I'm going for. Just kind of suck getting to this tail area. The panels become so, I don't know, what you call it, saturated, I guess, with the rivets. They're really reinforcing the tail section on this thing. Of course, it would help if I had a steadier hand to paint straight lines. So you get the idea of how many rivets are on this thing. I'm just drawing along the rivets. That's all I'm doing with this. Literally all I'm doing is just following the rivet lines. As you can see, in this little section, they really put a ton of rivets there to reinforce this section of the chopper. There's so many lines of rivets. There's basically half of one side, or pretty close to half of one side done. That's a lot of lines, and that means also that there's going to be a lot of cleanup to do in the hopes that I get the desired effect. There, of course, is the chance but I go to clean this all up, and it doesn't clean up the way I like, and it looks like crap, and I don't get the look that I'm going for. There's always that chance, because I'm not a professional. I don't do this. I haven't been doing this kind of detailing my whole life. I don't get paid to do this stuff. It's just a hobby. I'd like to get paid to do this. That would be pretty cool. But I don't. We'll see. I am looking forward to my next build, although it's probably going to be, in one hand, it's going to be one of the most fun builds I've ever done, because it is the Argo, also known as Space Battleship Yamato, from the anime Star Blazers from the late 70s, early 80s. As a kid, I absolutely loved that cartoon, which they didn't call them animes back then, they just called them cartoons. Like I said, that was like my favorite show. I loved that show so much as a kid. As a kid, I would have loved to have a toy or a model of the Argo. So depending on where you grew up and where you saw that, where it was, that show, I mean, it was called Star Blazers in Japan, but apparently from what I've seen on some history, there was a lot of censorship going on in those days. And if you watch the show in Japan, it was called like Star Blazers 2099 or something like that, and the ship was called the Yamato, because it was, even in the US version, it was the, basically they took the battleship Yamato from World War II and turned it into a spacecraft. And, but apparently in the Japanese series there was a lot of patriotism towards Japan and that ship in its history and all that, because it was their, you know, their best ship they had ever built at the time. But apparently a lot of that patriotism was censored and edited out of the American version of the show. And a couple of things like, there's one scene where the captain sits down with a bottle of alcohol that he had brought from Earth and brought with him and whatever, and he's sitting down with his crewmates and they're going to have a drink. But apparently that was a little too much for American children to take in, so they changed that and instead of alcohol, it was like spring water from a glacier or a mountain or something like that. So they enjoyed some water and on the ship instead of some alcohol. Which, you know, as a kid, you don't even pay attention to something like that. So they're drinking water, so they're drinking alcohol. As a kid, it's like, as a little kid, you don't give a crap about stuff like that. Especially if you're watching it for the freaking spaceships and all that good stuff. It's, well, it's kind of funny the things that they worry about children being exposed to as far as things like that. Okay, so almost done on this side. Got some on top here. Used to be a little harder to get at because of the engines, but that's okay. I saw a YouTube video that basically was saying if you spray clear coat on it when you're doing this, the clear coat helps the paint run in the lines better. But at the same time, that video was debunking that myth. So I don't know which is actually true. Maybe there is some truth. Maybe people have found that spraying the model with clear coat first helps the paint to run in the cracks more because the clear coat's smooth compared to a semi-gloss or a flat. I can't say that I have any experience testing that theory at all. So I couldn't tell you whether the clear coat method actually helps or not. Here, unfortunately, by doing this, I'm going to expose the fact that Revell didn't make this model line up quite perfectly on the nose, and you're going to see the offset nature of that line, that little locks there. But that's just the way it is. And there's not too much I can do about it, especially now that it's all done and painted and everything. And I'm not going to bother. It's not worth my time. Maybe Blackout just didn't get his fully transformed, you know, and he's a little offset there. There's always that possibility, right? After all, this is a transformer. You just don't know it yet. Sneaky Decepticon. One thing I did notice about this model, so it comes with this little Jeep, right? It comes with this guy. It also comes with artillery. That you assemble and you can pull with the Jeep. It hooks up to the towing hitch on the back of the Jeep there. He's got a little hitch there. And you can hook the artillery up to it, and that's kind of a neat little feature. Except it doesn't mention either of those two pieces in the instructions. The instructions do not mention this Jeep at all. It's just on the trees, and it's like, oh, look at that, there's a Jeep to build. And then the instructions don't show you how to build it at all. Not at all. So, let's say if you're building this model, which somebody did mention on my YouTube, that they are building this exact same one. So be prepared for that. If you haven't gotten to that stage yet, that you're going to wind up having to assemble the Jeep and the artillery all on your own. To figure it out all by yourself, how it goes together. Now there's not too many pieces, but there is quite a bit of detail on there. It's got the full undercarriage on there, right? Exhaust pipes and everything. It's, yeah. It's detailed very well. Especially considering there's no instructions on how to build it. For a second. Hopefully my rotor blades all stick together nice. I will have a look at them in a bit. Closer to the tail here, I'm taking a little bit more of a lazy approach because there's so many rivets. Just kind of doing almost like I'm just painting black lines to rivets. I really got clusters of rivets, especially around here. That scared me a little bit. Okay, let's start doing some horizontal lines. Got up here to do too. Sometimes my line painting skills are so bad, I might as well just go brush it all black and clean it up later. No, I did not. There's a few things that are very delicate, like these little roundy grab bar things, and there's a rail underneath here, and this little thing, which I don't know what the hell it's for, but it's there. Unfortunately, that's the risk when you're doing this, that you can accidentally break things off. The good thing is, you can see clearly where I'm not doing a very good job at staying along the line of the rivet at all, and just doing a horrible job and making a big mess of it. And at the same time, it doesn't even matter, because I'll go back over it with alcohol and the Q-tip and clean up these lines that I've done such horrible jobs on. And make it all look better. Now, of course, I'm trying to stay straight on my lines, because the straighter I do it, the less cleanup I have. But at the same time, I know I'm going to have a lot of cleanup anyway. So, it's really not a big deal. Really like doing these broad sweeping lines where I'm almost like painting it with the brush, but there's so many rivets going along the lines of this thing. So many. So you really think I got all night to paint rivets? Okay. Now, for the sake of timeliness, I'm going to leave it like that for now. And I'm going to start working on this side now that that's had a few minutes to dry. Paint all over my desk, splattering so much. Go. Okay, done. Now Q-tip. It's a little wet. Okay, so like I said, I'm just going to go in between all the little squares, or rectangles, I guess, and I'm going to clean up these lines just to make them tidier. It doesn't have to be perfect, because that's not really what I'm going for on here, especially in these sections. one sense, it's going to seem like, well, why did you put all that lines if they're on there if you're just rubbing them all away anyway? Well, because now one thing I can say right off the bat, I'm not happy with how that's coming out. I'm going to have a lot of work to do. Especially like on this dark one here, right? That's as much as I say, oh yeah, I wanted it to look like crap, I don't want it to look like that bad crap. If that makes any sense. What makes it difficult is because you got crosshairs, intersections of all these rivets, and to get into those little spots are a challenge. I almost want to clean up these vertical lines more than the horizontal ones. So you can see where that's starting to look a little bit better there. It doesn't look so, for lack of a better term, shitty. As you can see, I'll see if I can show you on this camera here. It looks so we're getting just in that section here. So obviously I have a lot of work to do. As you can see, this whole side panel needs to be done. And of course, both sides. That is going to have to come at another time when I have more time to work on this. So let's take a look at how our rotor blade came out. So it's pretty good. I'm going to anticipate already that it's not quite perfect and needs some adjustment, just because I can see some blades are not sitting right, which means it tells me they're not sitting in their little pockets properly. You think that one's needs to be fixed a little bit? I think so. But, exception to this one. So this one is in the pocket, but it needs to be set back on there. So that's easy enough to do. Let's see what that does. There's a couple of them basically need to be made with. those two are glued back in. Got a third one now that needs to be glued back in. So, assuming those are the only three that needed to be redone, that'll be it. Stay together. Like, come on. This is your home. Stay in your home. Won't let me clamp it, it won't stay on its own. Okay, so stay like that, like you're supposed to. Everything will be fine. I just need to hold this for the next 5 hours while this dries. And then everything will be peachy keen. In hindsight, I should have maybe put 3 blades on and let it dry completely. And then maybe another 2. That probably would have been the better deal, better way to go. Especially because it's so big and cumbersome. I can't really hang it from anything. I don't even remember which were the first 2 that I glued anymore. So I don't know which ones I can actually just dangle it. Maybe my little alligator clips will help. They can kind of be little funny spots. Let's get a few of these. Where'd they all go? Where are you all? There's one. There's another one. There's another one. And another one. Okay. There we go. They're all clamped together with my little alligator clips. Perfect. Now I can let that sit. I'll let that sit overnight. Like that. Make sure it dries properly. Okay. I think we're done. I think we're done completely. Aside from cleaning up all of this awful looking mess and actually putting the rotor blade on top, this model is finished. One thing I will note, I wound up having to glue this in closed because when I was trying to fit this door on, one of the tabs broke. And so then I was screwed. I had to glue it closed. I wanted to have it open. And I wanted to have this door come open like this, and then this ramp come out like down like that. Okay. Looking at pictures, I realized that this door, the window in it opens inside towards, basically towards the roof like this, and then this comes down. And when I was fighting to put this on, if you watch, I think it was, this is my part 2 or something like that, when I was fighting to put this thing on, it wanted to open towards the inside of the helicopter and not towards the outside. And I was trying to force it to open towards the outside. And in forcing it, that's how I broke the tab off. And I thought Revell had really screwed up on that and making it, not molding that properly so that it would open that way. And I think I was mistaken. I think they did it right, and this was supposed to open towards the inside. And then this one lowers down as for the ramp, and then you could like drive your little Jeep up inside, you know, and then the ramp up inside there, and everything would be good and fine. So I think I made the mistake there in doing that. And then I wound up breaking that tab off, and now this is glued solid, closed. So the Jeep will forever stay outside of the helicopter, and that's just the way it is. So there you have it. This is done. Well, except for cleanup, it's done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the video. It's pretty straightforward. This just gets glued onto there, just like that. And there you have the tail rotor. Done. It will turn. Although that piece that's in there is not very loose, it's very tight. Of course I don't have this glued, so this will come off of there. But that's that. It's a tight fit. So yeah, that's the only things left to do on this thing. As you can see, this thing is huge. Set that down on there. This is a beast of a model, right? It is huge. And to try and put it on a normal shelf, I don't only need that much length, I need this much width. And I don't have it, so I'm not sure what I'm going to wind up doing with this thing in the end. But it will be the last video I make of this. So what you can do if you want to see the finished product, once I've got this all done, go on my Instagram, because I will post pictures on there. It's not going to be today, obviously. I don't have time to finish it. but I'll try to get it all finished up tomorrow, and then I can post pictures on my Instagram, and you can check it out there. You can see what this thing looks like. And yeah, and then we'll move on to my next build. Hopefully starting on Saturday. That would be cool. If I can start that on Saturday, that'd be awesome. So, so until then, I'm gonna say good night. I'm gonna say thanks for watching. Thanks for coming out. And yeah, once again, definitely head over to my YouTube page. You can see my videos of how I got here, and what I did to get there, the good things and the bad things that happened, and you can see other builds that I've done, and you can check out still pictures on my Instagram. I think I already plugged that, didn't I? Right? Yeah. And so yeah, this is part 6, and this is done. We're done. Well, I mean 90%. Done enough. Okay, done enough. And yeah, that's gonna be it for now. And so, thanks again, and we will see you all next time.